the fact that discrimination is an inherent human behavior. It's something that we're all born with. It's a primordial a trait that human beings come. It's one of our applied or apps that comes to our software as being human beings. But our aim and our objective is to ensure that as human beings, we get to that El Dorado where, like you said, we do not have that kind of discriminatory tendency. It is still there. It's whether you discriminate based on sex, on gender, on economic discrimination. It could also be discrimination based on status, societal status. So human beings have to discriminate because that's how we survive. But what we are running away from is that this negative discrimination, that people get discriminated solely because of things that are out of their not of their own making. For instance, where I was born, or my societal background, all those things are out of my hands. And so it is important that we learn it. Not to discriminate is one of those attributes that we learn as human beings. We're not born with it. And so we know that, yes, human beings tend to want to discriminate. That's why we're setting up, celebrating days like this that says, let's not discriminate. Let's teach our people not to discriminate. Let's ensure that people are treated based on who they are rather than what they are or where they come from or what their societal background is all about. So I think that moving forward, like you said, is one of those our objectives, our push towards being a human being, that we must get to a point where we don't discriminate.
We seem to have a, would I say, peculiar situation here in Nigeria, where, as a multi-ethnic society, many ethnic groups, we see this discrimination play out oftentimes. And I wonder, this is my question to you, Hamza, I wonder how we, in our quest for national integration, for equity, for justice, how can we balance the need to protect individual rights with the need, to promote social cohesion and unity in a society as diverse, like ours, often where our diversity is often seen as a source of tension rather than strength?
I think if you ask me for my own opinion, I would say that we should not run away from the fact that we're discriminatory. We should accept it as being human.
Are you saying, Hamza, that we should embrace it? Or are you saying are you saying we should embrace the fact that, yes, we have a problem? Or are you saying we should embrace discrimination as what exactly?
No, what I mean is that we should accept that we are discriminatory in nature.
Oh, okay.
And that it should not be something that is inherently bad about being human being. No. It's something that we need to take advantage of, to say, because patriotism, if you look at the idea around patriotism and national patriotic movement, it's about discriminating against people who are not from your state, who are not from your country. It's about putting your country first above every other country. That is discriminatory in its own right. So you can make use of those traits for our national development. Yes, I understand that it's a fine line between what is good and what ought not to be. But if we accept it, it now means that when we are going to socialize our people, we will say use those traits to the advantage of our country, to the advantage of our community. Remember, discrimination always raises its head when there is resource control, when there's something to compete about. And that is what makes us human. Once we see a competition, we want to use that trait to ensure that we win whatever the competition is all about. And that's why we discriminate. Whether it is in the area of societal values, for instance, the marriage institution, the cultural institution, is in school, all those places where you see that there is a competition, discrimination finds its way into those places. So I'm saying that if we accept it, then which means that we can work with it to achieve what we want. It can be good or it can be bad. There is no human quality that is inherently bad or inherently good on its own. It's what you make of it. And that is where the National Orientation Agency comes in. What can we use? How can we use it to now build our democratic, our national plans, our national programs.
Hamza, do we wait until we get to the level of the National Orientation Agency? I was just going to jump in there and ask if perhaps you think, there's a role that education plays in combating discrimination, and how we can assure that at various levels of our educational system, we students, whether pupils from primary schools, students at the secondary school level, undergraduates, are equipped to promote empathy, with these skills that promotes understanding and also engenders inclusivity.
Nnamdi, you are even moving ahead of you're moving to I say you've jumped into the realm of structured school environment. We're talking about the family. The family should be the first school that a child learns that there are certain behaviors that we should not accept as a people.
And
yes,
I agree with
we are born with discriminatory traits, but these discriminatory traits, this is where you can use them, this is where you cannot use them. But because the family unit is not working the way it should work, we now move to the next level, which is the school system. Our educational policies should use those traits and work on them. Teachers should be taught how to bring the best out of students and tell them what is good and what is not good. And then, of course, finally, the agencies like the National Orientation Agency can now augment as an adult to make you understand that as a nation, we do not want this kind of behaviors. So you can see these 3 steps. Most of the times, because the first step has failed, we want the school to take over. The school is not meant as an alternative to the family. It is meant to complement the family. But because our family system is no longer working, we, the parents, have failed as the first teachers for children to let them know that no, this person is a human being first, before the person is a Christian or a Muslim, before the person is a man or a woman, before the person is a northerner or a southerner. I don't even know what those terminologies mean, because in our growing up, everybody was a human being first. We need to teach that at the family unit. But alas, we did not do that work. We're now expecting teachers to be the ones to do that work for us. And then we now expect that as a national program, the National Orientation Agency should now pick the final button and make it into a viable policy program that we can run with as a nation. So yes, I agree with you, education, but first of all, it should not be the structured education. It must be the family education, the societal education, the community education.
Earlier on, I was talking about how equality under the law does not preclude the practice of discrimination. Just like, just like equality under the law does not in itself materialize into a just result, even for an individual or maybe for the collective. So soon, Hamza, we get an opportunity to remind the global community, of the imperatives for equality, before the law, not minding whether, yes, theoretically it is there, the law says do this, Nigerian constitution says, look, under the law we are equal and all of that. So this drive, March 1, will push for zero discrimination. What is your message?
For me,
yes, please come in here.
For me, that the fact that we are pushing that the equality before the law is a concept of our legal jurisprudence means that we know that inherently we are not equal before any law. It is the survival of the fittest that works. But because we already accept that we are not equal,
you're saying society. Are you saying society is truly what George Orwell said it is? That it is an animal farm?
It is short. Yes, we know that, and that's why we created a concept around judicial equality, to say that laws are applicable to everybody. But we know technically in law, laws are not applicable to everybody. There's discrimination even within the law itself. Certain persons are immune from certain issues. The president is immune from prosecution based on the fact that he's simply because he's the president.
So against this background, Hamza, against this background, what then is your message to those who wield power and those who are still struggling to find their voice?
My message is this, that the power belongs to us that are doing that are the ones that are electing these people. We hold the power. We decide whether you should sit on that chair or not. The equality that we have is that one man, one vote. Everybody is equal. That vote does not know whether you're a man or a woman. Doesn't know whether you are a child, you are a rich person or a poor person. We determine what happens with the leaders. And so discrimination should not be because of whether you are rich or you are poor. You can get elected to serve your people. And that is why the law says, and when we want to elect people, we say it doesn't matter. The minimum you can have is be able to be responsible, be a responsible person. We will now vote you into power. So it is important that as people, as citizens of Nigeria, that we understand that individuals are inherently humans first before they're anything else.
True.
And unless we begin to see it that way, we're always going to find ourselves electing our leaders and basing our judgment on whether the person is tall or short, is fair or white, speaks Igbo or Hausa, is a Christian, prays in this direction or that direction. It doesn't really matter where the person comes from. And that is the reason why we are getting to that, we are pushing towards that El Dorado of saying we are all equal. We are all human beings first. The law is for everybody, it's not just for some people. And I'm hoping that as we celebrate these days, as we remind ourselves of these days, it is going to be important that we teach our next generation, our kids coming up, that this is the ideal that we want. It may not be what we have presently, but it's the ideal that we're looking for.
Ideal practice. I mean, our plan, hope, and expectation is that indeed we are all equal before the law. Hamza Aliyu, Executive Director, human rights activist, I must say, I should mention that, because within the context of our conversation today, you identify as a human rights activist, development advocate, I should also add. Of course, Hamza Aliyu is also the Executive Director of the Initiative for Grassroots Advancement, INGRA, operating out of Lokoja there in Kogi State. I'd like to thank you so much for coming on our program, Insight. It's been an interesting conversation. We look forward to having you come on Insight presently. Thank you so much, Hamza.
Thank you very much for having me.